I was watching Family Feud and they surveyed 100 people and said, who's a person you hate? And number one answer was my ex. And the number two answer was politicians.
Welcome to Guys We...
Hi everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Guys We Hug.
It's the anti-slut-shaming podcast. I'm Corinne Fisher.
I'm Krystyna Hutchinson.
Welcome to the show.
How you doing? You okay? You want to email us? SorryAboutLastNightShow@gmail.com.
This subject line says, my ex-husband sent me a song he wrote about our divorce on my birthday. Well, of course he did, because he needs to make it about him. Hi, Corinne and Krystyna. First off, I want to thank you for what you do. I don't think I would have had the courage to get divorced if I hadn't started listening to Guys We Fuck.
Yay, my favorite feedback.
Listening to you two helped give me the confidence to get out of an unhappy marriage, and I owe you so much for that. Thank you. I've never written in before and just had to in hopes to hear your thoughts on this situation. My ex-husband, let's call him Sean, and I split in September of 2023. We were married for 6 years, together for about 12 years. Our divorce was undramatic and as loving as a divorce can be. No kids, no house, didn't even need a lawyer. I did all the paperwork and filing myself.
Nice.
One of my biggest fears around asking for a divorce was his response. Was he going to be angry? Was he going to try and convince me to stay? Would I have the strength to leave if he tried to keep me? But he did not. He accepted it immediately and let me go. Well, was he cheating? At the time,
Were you a little disappointed?
Yeah. At the time, I was so thankful for that. I knew no matter his response, I wanted out. I didn't want it to be a fight. But after some time had passed, I would have these moments where I felt truly heartbroken that he didn't fight the divorce at all.
Yeah.
We had been together for so long. He was my best friend. And for a long time, I was deeply in love with this man. Some background on what caused me to want a divorce. We are from the Midwest and had moved to Portland, Oregon a few months after getting married. We lived there for 4.5 years and it was incredible. I love Portland so much, and moving away from home helped me grow, gave me experiences and job opportunities I never would have had if I never had left my hometown. In June of 2022, we moved back to our hometown because I got a great job opportunity to teach and be the program director at the college I went to and got my undergraduate and graduate degree from. It also allowed us to be closer to our aging parents. For the first time since we got married, we were finally in a place where we would be for the foreseeable future. When we lived in Portland, we had no family there, just friends and great times. It was an amazing time in my life, and I have no regrets about moving there with him. We always planned to move back to the Midwest at some point, but it happened a little quicker than we thought because of this amazing job opportunity I had. Now that we were in a stable place for the foreseeable future, I really started to think about what our future looks like, buying a home, having a family, etc. And I realized that I do want those things, just not with Sean. I had become a mother to him. I took care of all our finances, grocery shopped, cooked, cleaned, the whole shebang. Well, I already knew that from when you said you handled
did the divorce papers.
Divorce yourself. Yeah. He smoked a ton of weed and drank and didn't take care of himself.
Cute.
I was advancing in my career and making new female friends and really loving my life outside of my marriage so much more than my life in my marriage. I knew I had changed and that he hadn't. Nothing dramatic happened. He didn't wrong me or treat me poorly. I simply fell out of love with him hard. You both helped me realize I didn't need something dramatic to happen in my marriage to leave. I was unhappy. Yes. I wanted something more, so I left.
Nice.
Best decision I ever made, and my life is now better than I could have ever imagined.
Okay.
He and I have never been on bad terms since the divorce, and we don't really communicate on a regular basis, but still see each other out at certain events and have the occasional brief text exchange. He has a girlfriend, and I am seeing somebody as well. Fast forward to my birthday this year. I get a happy birthday text from him. This is not out of the norm for us at all. However, right after the text, he sends me a link to a live performance of his band. No. I have seen his band many times in the past and was genuinely looking forward to watching this performance since I don't see them play hardly at all now that we are divorced. Okay, let me stop you right there and say you can look forward to receiving a video of his band playing, but not on your birthday.
Yeah.
Whether it was about a song about you or not.
Yeah.
It's your birthday. Thank you so much. I started to watch and listen and quickly realized from the lyrics that the song is about our divorce. The lyrics aren't mean or disparaging towards me, but hearing his lyrical take on our split got me worked the fuck up.
Yeah, especially on your day. It's your birthday.
That was on purpose too. It wasn't.
Of course it was.
It wasn't accidental. It brought up those feelings of heartbreak and disappointment about how little effort he put into our relationship and how much it actually did hurt me that he didn't try at all to prevent the divorce from happening. And on my fucking birthday.
Yeah.
When we split, we never really got into the nitty gritty of why I wanted the divorce in the first place.
Really?
He didn't ask me. He just let me go. I don't think he wanted to know.
Well, maybe he felt it and he didn't want to hear the truth come out of your mouth.
Yeah. I don't think he wanted to know, honestly. I had made peace with this, or I thought I had, until I got that text and listened to that song. Well, he felt you had made peace with that, so he needed to make unpeace. Now I have a strong urge to really tell him how I feel and how I think it was a fucked up thing to send me on my birthday of all days. I would just block him. But at the same time, I think, why bother? I've moved on. My life is amazing. Sure, it might be cathartic to finally get all of this off my chest and have him hear it, but I doubt he will really hear me. And besides, we have both moved on. He obviously did not. But goddamn.
In his head, when he's doing this, sending this email, he's just John Cusack and say anything. That's what he thinks is happening.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, but goddamn, the urge to tell him is stronger than it has ever been for me.
I hear
anyway,
that.
would love to hear thoughts. Dumb bitch my ass. Love you both. Oh, and then she did send a link to the performance.
Should we watch it?
Wow. This is...
Should we watch it?
Well, put it on mute. I mean, we can't.
Wait, what did she say? He's the
main guy. He's this guy.
Can I do closed captioning? Wait, let me do
I
closed
believe.
captioning.
Yeah.
Love for you goes beyond the desire. Entertainments want your life to be full. So there's attempt at attainment. I'm a more rural life self based on you with that. Okay, this closed caption's a little off. Without me is perfectly fine, even though it sucks to see.
I don't think we need to know the lyrics. I think we can see from the 92 views. You're not missing out on much.
Oh God! Oh, and they hashtagged it. Oh my God! Restrictive commitments won't make me want to leave you. Wait, hold on. I do want to. This video is filmed.
You don't need to tell this guy anything, miss. You
Can't
just
take away this broken artifact.
I honestly would just block the guy.
Yeah, this is. Ugh, you got a sad whiny boy on your hands.
I would just block this guy, and not out of animosity. It's just
for your protection.
It's just setting a boundary.
Yeah,
You just need to not talk to this guy for a while, and it very quietly says, sending me something like that on my birthday is unacceptable. You haven't changed. I have.
See you later.
I bid you adieu.
And think of how he sent this to you on your birthday made you feel, and then remember that blocking him is going to free you from ever having to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know? You might still see him out, but like, okay, good. Don't tease me with a good time.
Yeah, because I think if you kind of flip out the way you want to, the way that feels good, it might be cathartic, but it's gonna
make him happy.
Know that he still has an emotional hold on you, which is what he wants,
and he very clearly doesn't, because you are so happy moving on from him. You fell out of love. That's okay. Glad you got the divorce. Glad you got the divorce. I was trying to realize, what is a perk to marriage? I don't think there is one. Like, is the tax break that good?
I like how every week your stance on marriage and having
totally
children
changes. Yeah. Well, because people's experiences are very
sometimes
interesting.
you're walking me through the wedding.
Yeah. Well, that's the only perk I can think of, which is a fun one, is just having a party to celebrate how much you love the person with the people you love.
You can just do that.
Yeah. But then would people attend if it wasn't a wedding?
Well, that's on them.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, promo stuff. Well, I don't have a solo podcast anymore, but I do have a Patreon where once a week I hold a Zoom group therapy where we talk about whatever the hell is on your mind. And because I don't have a solo podcast anymore, you can still listen to it on any podcast app, Voices in Our Heads. I'm kind of funneling my experiences into the top of these Zooms, and then you can listen back to the audio. We had the most interesting conversation yesterday that I could have kept going on for hours about the role of masculinity and how the good guy's voice needs to be amplified in this society, because I would love to see more men that are good do the talking to the men that are not good. We had a really interesting discussion on that, and and just society and stuff. So you can sign up for that, and you can hear our conversation, and you can participate in the conversation once a week at patreon.com/Krystyna Hutchinson.
And you can listen to my political podcast, Without a Country, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We live stream on YouTube. You can call in the show if you're watching live, C-SPAN style. You know what happens on the show. I did coin a term, a phrase that I've been using for the past week that I should have coined 5 years ago. But I read the news from Fox to Vox for you. I can't believe I didn't think of that. It just came out of my mouth when I was doing these mayoral interviews, and I was like, oh man, that was really good, Corinne. You really Dr. Seuss'd that. But yeah, and it really will enhance your ability to critically think, to engage with people who hold different viewpoints from you, which I think is extremely important, especially now. And it will make you think when you intake news more about media literacy, right? So all these things, all these skills are extremely important, and it also keeps you abreast of what's going on in the world. And all you got to do is listen to one podcast, and I kind of picked out the most important or interesting things. Obviously, that there's my bias is going on there, but a good helping of things that are going on in the world, and especially in America. So you can join us. You subscribe at Without a Country podcast on YouTube, and you can follow us online Without a Country. And that's it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
How you doing?
All right, good. Yeah, I mean, are we going to do the mayoral segment now?
Yeah.
I guess this is. I will have no personal life outside of being mayor. So if you're like, oh, all Corinne talks about is being mayor, I mean, yes,
it's a 24/7 job.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be asking for you to donate money every single day of my life if I wasn't taking it seriously. So when I say I'm truly not doing anything else, I'm not doing anything else. So that's all I have to talk about. I went to a caucus this weekend, aka a meeting, a convention, a conference. Caucus is just a fancy word. Caucus also does mean things, different things politically, depending on like what state or country you're in. But most times it just means a freaking meeting. Of people with a shared viewpoint, usually. And I'm just saying that not because I think you're stupid, but because I think that one thing that holds Democrats behind is our insistence on using political jargon or high-level words to convey pretty simple sentiments. And I think that we really pride ourselves on being so smart when in reality, it's just losing us voters. And that's nothing to pride yourself on. So congratulations, Democrats, AKA me. But yeah, I went to my first caucus, and it was interesting. And I guess what I learned this week and what I wanted to talk about a little bit was, the fact that I'm running an outsiders campaign, right? While I would say that, most people, everyday people, have been like pretty excited and kind of like, oh, let's do this thing. People in the political world, not that they're like angry. I mean, some people are angry. But, they're kind of like, well, I haven't heard of you, so there must be no chance that you could win, right? We, of course, understand that it's a long shot, but I think it is this kind of attitude that I have to know who you are, otherwise you are not relevant in politics, is part of what's keeping Democrats behind, right? Just so you guys know, as voters, that you do have the power. When Rock the Vote or whatever says you have the power and talks about how important it is to vote, they're not incorrect. This is not just some publicity stunt to get people fake involved, right? At the end of the day, and we learned this with Donald Trump being elected, votes are extremely powerful. It's a really, really, politicians are spending millions and millions of dollars a year trying to get your vote, okay? They're trying to sell you on who they are and what their platform is. That's how valuable your vote is. And so it is astounding to me when we look at the numbers, how few people are taking advantage of this power that they have, the power that you have over your own lives and your own government. You really, really, really do hold it. I think that's the number one thing. If you get anything from me running for mayor, that's what it is. So when, people in the political world say you have no shot at winning, they're saying that because they are looking at the statistics of voter turnout for, I don't know, all of history, basically, right? But what I want to tell you today is if you decided that you wanted someone new to govern you, and you told all your friends and you spent a little time passing that along, and that's everyone who's listening, right? You really could have whoever you want govern you. That is 100% a possibility, right? The people that we're voting for really do get elected. And so, I think some people are, might be questioning, why are you running for mayor and not something smaller, right? Well, I have a couple answers to that. Number one, I'm already in a position where I have a bigger following than, basically any of the other candidates except for Andrew Cuomo, who has not announced yet, but most likely will. And quite frankly, and this is going to sound narcissistic, I have a star quality that the Democratic Party needs. And I have that because I'm in the entertainment business. That's why we see so many entertainers, so many actors, comedians, professional wrestlers make this transition into politics because there's a lot of similarities, right? And so while it might feel to some like not paying your dues, I think it's important and not narcissistic at all to recognize the qualities that you have that make people gravitate towards you or away from you, depending on how you look at it. And for me, and why I decided to take this transition from comedy to politics is because when I put myself in a leadership position, whether it be on purpose or accidentally, that's when I really hear a response from people, right? It tells me people are thirsty for a leader. And so even if I feel like it is perhaps narcissistic or, to think that my way is the best way, someone needs to do it, right? And I can come into this situation saying, hey, I can't always guarantee you that I'm going to do the right thing. What I can guarantee you is that I'm going to think a lot about the things that I'm going to do and the decisions I'm going to make. And I'm going to put a lot of heart and a lot of thought into it. I'm not going to just do things to do things. I'm not going to do things to gain power or to gain money. I'm going to do things because I'm going to listen to the best interests of the people. And I'm going to make those decisions based on that, right? A true democracy. And so, when people say, are you prepared to be mayor? You don't have any political background. You don't have experience. Yeah, no, I don't have experience, and I think that's a good thing. I don't have experience in what? Screwing people over, in
corruption,
in making deals behind your back. Please, I want you to know this, and this is going to make everyone else in politics hate me. I don't care. Decisions about how your life is going to go are being made at conferences that you don't know about and you're not a part of, right? It's exchanges between people. Truly, 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 it is at this point with voter turnout as it is, especially for municipal elections, decisions about your future are being made, again, in rooms that you don't know exist, by people you've never met, and by people who don't know you, and I'm not saying they don't have your best interests in mind. I think they have maybe an idea of what you want, but ultimately it's just things that are like self-serving these special interest groups, right?
Mm-hmm, that are giving them money.
And so it's really like the Democratic Party is almost deciding in a bubble who should be the next leader of New York City or whatever place it is. That's kind of, what is very clear to me. But what is also very clear to me is that if you want to make decisions for yourself as a group, like if you want the people of New York City to really be making the decisions for New York City, you can choose someone like me who owes nothing to any of these people.
Yeah.
Right? Who is just going to be like, we could not that this is the way people want to govern. We can do Instagram polls about every single decision we're making. I'm not here to make decisions that I want to make. I am here because I want the city to be a better place, right? And we really do have the power, but you absolutely have to vote, right? So as I said before, I'm doing the hard part. I'm running for mayor. That's the hard part. But there are little things that I'm going to ask you to do along the way. February 13th, 14th has come and gone. So that's when you had the opportunity to register as a Democrat in the city of New York. So if you didn't get the chance to do that, no worries, just, kind of stay politically involved in whatever way that you can. But if you are a registered Democrat and you haven't voted in a primary before, make June 24th the first time that you vote in a mayoral primary, okay? I think if people can get excited to choose someone that they really think hears them, that June 24th is going to be the day that happens, right? Voter turnout for a city with millions of people is in the low hundreds of thousands. Like the person who
couple blocks
who takes the seat of mayor. This is a couple 100,000 people are making this decision for you, and it doesn't need to be this way. It'll take, and again, vote like. To vote on June 24th, I mean, what will it take? 30 minutes out of your day, maybe? And that's from the time you leave your house, cast your ballot, get back to your house, maybe, right? So 30 minutes. And it really could change everything, right? And so there's things you can do. So that's number one most important thing is voting. But number two thing that you need to do is donating money. And again, I hate asking for money, but I'm going to be asking for it every week because every time I ask for it, I do get more because I think I'm really kind of trying to explain to you the importance, right? It's visibility. And so if everyone listening to this podcast, if everyone following Corinne Fisher for mayor or Philanthropy Gal online or Krystyna Hutch or Guys We Fucked or Eric Freddy, if we all donated, and I'm just talking, if every single person donated $20, complete game changer. So $20.
Make sure an American citizen though.
Yeah. So American U.S. resident.
Yeah.
So $20 and 30 minutes of your time. Right? When you think about that, that's like that's the fee that I'm asking of you.
So you can feel good about your leadership.
And for a future with new possibilities. And if you don't live in New York City, please know I truly feel from the bottom of my heart that something like this will set a precedent for other cities. It really will. It will make people feel like the power is in the people's hands. And I understand why voter turnout is so low, right? Because nothing ever changes.
Yeah.
Well, nothing ever changes. And I'm seeing this in a way that I never saw it before. Nothing ever changes because, again, these decisions are being made for us. But ultimately, they don't need to be. We can make the decisions. We just haven't. So the decision has been being made for us, right? Right now, if the election for mayor was held today, and assuming Andrew Cuomo would be a part of that, again, he hasn't announced. Rumors are he has. All the kinds of stuff is going on with Eric Adams.
Is a shit show.
His a bunch of his deputy mayors stepped down in the past 24 hours. So it seems like he might announce soon that he's either not going to run for re-election. The governor might remove him, which will involve a big political trial. I mean, there's a lot going on, right? But as it stands, if the people of New York City were to vote today and Andrew Cuomo was included on that ballot, Andrew Cuomo wins in a landslide according to polling. Okay. Number two would be Brad Lander, comptroller.
Boring.
And again, I don't think Brad's a bad person, but he's someone who's very, very ingrained in politics. He's someone who there's no way he doesn't owe people favors. He has, there's no way he doesn't have extreme bias. There's no way he doesn't have a pretty set way in his mind about how things should go based on people and groups and unions that he's taken money from, right? Democratic Party has a lot going on, a lot of inner conflict about what we should do, what are the next moves. Whereas one of my things I think is positive about conservatives is they have less goals, but they're clearer, and everyone in the party has pretty much agreed with them, and that's why they are able to move forward the way that they have, right? So, voting, donating. Again, I know sometimes people don't be like, oh, it's only $20. I almost feel embarrassed. No, please don't
feel embarrassed.
Make the donation.
Individual donations, the amount of individual donations we have also shows how seriously people are taking this campaign.
Because this is the thing. I'm just not the kind of person who's going to get a bunch of $2,100, which is the max donations. I don't know a bunch of people who have $2,100 to give, but I do know thousands of people with $20 to give.
Yeah.
And that is just as powerful if we believe that it is powerful, right? So that when we talk about grassroots, that's what it is. It's not about a couple people doing a lot, which is how billionaires take over. Yeah. It's about all of us, the majority, doing a little. You don't need to feel overwhelmed. You don't need to feel like you have to take hours out of your day. Whatever you can give. And $20 is like, to some people. When I say $20, I want you to think of it as like an amount of money that you can give away and you pretty much won't miss it no matter what happens, right? So for some people, that is literally $20. For some people, that's $250. For some people, that's $500. Just an amount of money that you feel comfortable basically taking a gamble. Think of this as taking a gamble at a better life for yourself. That's what I want you to think. Because again, it's been like a little over 2 weeks and I have already learned so much more about politics. If you had asked me 2.5 weeks ago, if I don't like politicians, I don't think I would have said, no, I don't like politicians. Now, 2.5 weeks later, I would say I completely understand why. I was watching Family Feud and they surveyed 100 people and said, who's a person you hate? And number one answer was my ex. And the number two answer was politicians. Now I understand why that was the answer, right?
You understand it.
I understand completely. The amount, but I have never, and I've been telling you guys to vote for years. Krystyna's been telling you to vote for years. Yeah. I know so many of you on Without a Country said I voted for the first time ever in this presidential election because you said vote so many times. And I really mean it. And that's the one thing that I have not changed my opinion on at all. If anything, I believe more strongly in the absolute power of an individual vote more than ever before. I cannot reiterate this enough. And it is so important to vote in your local elections because those people who gain power on a local level then just continue stepping up the ladder, right? They're playing a game and it is completely internal and it is completely separate from you as an individual, but it doesn't need to be. And so that's what I really wanted to get across from to you today. The Democratic Party is in desperate need of a voice that is interesting and that is unorthodox, that will make people pay attention to politics in a way that they haven't before. And again, you call it narcissistic, whatever. But I really think this is something that I can do. I have a track record of making people look at their lives and the power that they hold as an individual in a way that they hadn't before. That's something I am good at. And again, don't be worried. It's not like I'm not going to go in with Trump energy. I know what's best, right? But what I can do is be really discerning in choosing a group of people to be around me who are all experts in their areas and all the inner workings of the city, who I truly feel are educated and well-researched and open to changing their opinion, which I think is something really important that we have to look for in leaders that we don't, and who is able to communicate with me and really advocate for the needs of the people in the city, right? Because that's what you're doing. I'm not going to be in Gracie Mansion alone, okay? Don't you worry. We do still, even though it doesn't feel like it, we do still have checks and balances in this country. But so that's
unless you're Donald Trump and you fire everybody.
Yeah, right.
But truly, that's the only way to get out of the checks and balances.
Right. Yeah. And so I just want you to really feel empowered, but also know that decisions that should be being made by you are being made by other people who are so far removed from you at this point that they have no idea what is going on in your everyday life. And again, it's not that I think everyone I've met along the way is bad, not at all. But I had the thought so many times over the past 2.5 weeks of, man, I'm sure a lot of these people went into this job with the best of intentions. And I think very quickly they became jaded and realized that having good intentions for society perhaps wasn't enough. But I argue and I push back on that, and I think it can be, but not without the power of the people, which almost seems trite, but it's really not. So please don't feel tired and exhausted. And when you write in or when you post on Instagram, you just think, oh, the world is falling apart. What can I do? What you can do is support a politician running on a local level, right? And so, the people who said, why don't you run for, city council or assembly, something lower first? People aren't going to care about that. Okay. So people barely, when you look at how many people are in the US, people barely voted for the president, right? So if people are barely voting for the president, you don't then move down to voting for city council.
Yeah.
You go the opposite. You go think about who you're electing as governor. Think about who you're electing mayor of major cities. And then people are start caring about those other things. That's, to me, the order you go in. Again, just my take on it. And the one thing that actually, whatever the haters and the naysayers, the one thing that no one actually has pushed back on me about is when I say that I think the Democratic Party desperately needs an interesting person with some kind of star quality. No one's pushed back on me on that. Yeah. Everyone agrees on that.
Democrats and Republicans agree on that. Yeah.
Republicans have been able to find those people, though.
Yes, they have. And that's a huge advantage. And we see how that's played out. I mean, the amount of voters that have turned red in the New York City area is huge over the last presidential election.
And that's why we see the success of someone like an AOC, right? And that's why there's so much crossover between supporters of Donald Trump and AOC, right? They're both people who came with no political background, but they have been able to make waves, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think... there's been tons of conversations about whether or not AOC was experienced enough. And I myself have been part of those conversations. And I think if there's anything that I'm really clear on now, it's that we have plenty of people with experience governing us, and this is where it's left us.
They don't do a good
job. So perhaps we need a mix of people who have governing experience, and then some people who are just really still not deaf to the needs of the people. People who are willing to go out and truly hear what individuals have to say. So yeah, again, if everyone who hears this spiel donates whatever $20 literally, or whatever $20 means to you in your life, CorinneFisher.com. The numbers again go up every day, but it's really clear that I'm going to have to do this $25 at a time.
Yeah. And you have to be a U.S. resident. So please live in the United States. If you know somebody who lives in the United States and you don't, tell them about Corinne's platform. I just wanted to add a couple of things to this. And I wanted to start out by the episode that you guys are going to hear next week, which was live in New York Comedy Club. It was our first campaign fundraiser event.
Really fun.
It was really cool.
Good. Yeah.
Well, so I thought I had my favorite moment up until I texted with you afterwards was watching. I loved that the people in the room, when we threw it to the audience for questions, came at you from this perspective of, why should I trust you? That made me so happy.
Yeah.
I want Corinne to be in the sea of crocodiles because I know she will absolutely get out of that and leave all these naysayers in the dust. I mean, I'm so confident in that. I loved that they gave a shit and there was not blind support. Corinne had to earn their support, and she did. And my favorite moment was feeling everybody in the room when they asked these very thoughtful questions about the environment.
They were not easy questions. I was like,
loved that.
I was like, you guys are coming to Valentine's Day with some hardcore political questions.
I fucking loved that they were not easy. I was so happy. It made me so happy that they were hard-hitting questions. One person asked a question about, what do you say to the New Yorkers who want more affordable housing, but not on my block? Mm-hmm. I fucking loved that.
That was a great question, and I think also really speaks to the hypocrisy that many Democrats feel. Yeah, especially further left-leaning Democrats within their own party, and why I'm calling myself a Democrat now because I do believe that the party can be rehabilitated if we all if we all agree to do it together. But I mean, I'm a liberal gone rogue. I'm not trying to hide that. Yeah. And why did I go rogue? Because I found the Democratic Party to be ineffective, and also just worrying about this minutia that is keeping us arguing when we all share pretty much, our goals are all similar. but our pathway to get to these goals perhaps takes different routes, right? So we're arguing about what route to take when the Republicans are charging full steam ahead down their yellow brick road.
Yeah, and
good luck.
United people get shit done. But so my favorite part of the night was feeling everybody in that room. I felt the energy so clear as day. Everybody in the room after Corinne fielded those questions they had this air of, oh, fuck, you would be a very powerful choice for mayor of New York City. That was such an exciting thing to be in the room for. And I think you're going to hear that in the episode. But the other thing that you had texted me about, Corinne, after that honestly got me even more excited was when we were filming a Mayor on Street video after we did our first part of a series. We filmed something. We went on the streets. We were in Bushwick, Brooklyn. And we were talking to people, trying to engage, and a lot of people were busy about going about their day. And the second someone tries to talk to me as a New Yorker, I'm like, nope, I go across the street. I treat you worse than I would treat a man. I dodge you like a bullet. But, we did get to talk to a lot of people, or you got to talk to a lot of people. And there was this younger man that you spoke with that seemed very engaging. And he had star quality for sure.
He did have star quality.
I think
that's the first thing I said when me and Krystyna walked away from him. I said, I hope that guy does run for politics because he has star quality.
He expressed his interest in wanting to run for politics one day, so he stopped with his girlfriend and they had an interesting conversation. And then after the show, Corinne and I both had to leave right after the show. And Corinne said that guy that we stopped and talked to, the video, came to the event. I don't know why that was my favorite part of this so far, is that you actually engaged somebody who was very engaging himself and really gave a shit. There's a lot of young people in New York City, but all around the world, who give a shit. And I'm like, thank God. Thank God. And he asked a really interesting question about the environment and how are you going to incorporate environmental protections in your policy? And I loved his question, but I loved that you engaged him on the street and he came to the event. He asked a thoughtful question and you knocked the answer out of the park. And it was so exciting. And I've also...
Yeah, and it's also just the power of I talked face to face with a guy I've never met on the street that stopped on the street for literally 2 minutes.
Freezing cold out.
In the freezing cold. For 2 minutes. We had a 2-minute face-to-face conversation. And whatever I said or, to him or however I made him feel, within that 2 minutes, I was able to get him to come to another borough on Valentine's Day to sit and listen to us talk for an hour and a half. We
didn't even leave him with a business card or a palm card because we don't have those yet.
He just followed me on Instagram. Yeah, he followed me on Instagram and and then he was so interested. And I think I know most of you probably listening aren't in the business of something where you have to sell tickets to make money.
It's very stressful.
But to have that amount of interaction with someone and then to get them to buy a ticket to your show is really incredible. That's hard to do.
I cried when you texted me that. I thought that was amazing. I thought it was so beautiful. And think about this, man, young people, I love you. I love you so much. And I love when I was younger, when I was in my 20s and of voting age, I still have big goals for myself. Clearly, we still have big goals for ourselves, Corinne and I. We really try to lead by example here, and Corinne's doing an absolutely amazing job of it. But, it's beautiful to see these young people give so much of a shit about the environment and the planet and where it's going. And I'm like, the amount of young people that have voted in the New York City Democratic primary for mayor is so low. It's so low. And you guys are the engine, man. And I think that young people in New York could elect you mayor easily. But think about New York City has the biggest municipality budget of any city in the United States. There's so much money here and there's so many things. And we're seeing this on the federal level and right in front of our eyes on the city level in our beloved New York City. Why are we taking this money? And this is our tax dollars that we earned. And we are giving a portion of our income that is hard earned to the government. And what are they doing with it?
Whatever they want is the answer.
Exactly. They're spending it on more policing. And it's why are our public school curriculums so fucked? Why aren't these kids going out into the workforce feeling empowered, knowing how to code, knowing how to critically think? And local government is so fucking exciting. And I always knew it to be exciting, but dive diving deep into this process has made me even more excited and more of a believer in the power of local government. But like, could you imagine the email that we read at the top of this intro? This lovely woman said, you two helped me get the confidence to get out of an unhappy marriage. Could you imagine somebody who leads with their character by being themselves be in charge of the biggest municipality budget in the entire country?
It might help us all to get out of the abusive relationship that we're in with our government. You know, that's what I'm hoping. Again, I talk about this all the time on Without a Country, but there are, the parallels from doing a relationship podcast to then doing a government podcast are consistently there. And I think it's a really easy way to explain, a circumstance that is happening in government to people in a way that they understand because they've experienced it firsthand. But there are parallels everywhere. The way we conduct our interpersonal relationships absolutely is reflected in our government.
The way we stand up for ourselves, in our place of work, in our school, to our lover, to our husband, to our child, to whatever. Like the way we stand up for ourselves can be one of the most empowering gifts that you will ever give yourself. And so can you imagine the city that is one of the most famous cities in the world, but certainly the most famous city in the United States, the city that sets the precedent.
Sorry, other cities.
No, I mean, I love you. I love you. LA, San Diego, fucking Detroit. There's so many beautiful cities in this country. But New York City has this way about it. It's the electricity. It's why everybody drains their savings accounts to move here because of the undeniable electricity from the people that live here. Could you imagine if somebody's in this leadership position in the most famous city in the country that sets the precedent for the rest of the country? Like, it is the most... Corinne for mayor of New York City is such a powerful choice. And it's like really reinvigorating.
I mean, and can you think of a bigger fuck you to Donald Trump?
I know. That's one of my favorite parts, but I try to be like, middle of the road about it. But
this is not, I also do know people who are fans of Donald Trump who are also fans of me. And I certain, but I think they know from the way that I, conduct myself that I'm not anti them. I believe that they, again, what they want is they want a different style of government because what they've been being served isn't working for them. So I understand that. It's just, there's just two different ways to go about it.
You want change.
And one, and also this is the other thing I was thinking about, right? So when we talk about having no experience in politics, and be like, it's interesting because we accept a couple different type of people to run for office. We're comfortable with people who are already in politics, and we're comfortable with like hedge fund managers, philanthropists, entrepreneurs, usually men with a lot of money. And then we wonder why our government doesn't take care of us and only takes care of people with money and the decisions are all being made by corporations. Well, because you only trust politicians or people who have a background in making a lot of money. Do you think that the hedge fund manager made his money through grassroots donations? I'm asking that seriously.
He ain't going to Taco Bell, bitch.
Because that's what I spent a lot of time thinking about what is the best way to answer that question. What is the, because I don't need to convince me. I've already convinced myself. I understand it's a huge role and I would not be stepping into something if I feel like I was going to fuck everything up.
Sure.
But that's why. So if we're talking about grassroots, if we're talking about someone who, knows how to change things for herself. I, number one, got myself out of the tax bracket that I was born into. Statistically, very, very few people are able to do that. So that's
about that.
So that's number one. Look up I used to know the stats for that, but most people will remain in the tax bracket that they were born into.
Really? Mm-hmm. Damn, that sucks.
So most people never move more than a couple miles outside of the place that they were born,
which is crazy to me.
So that's number one. Number two, with Krystyna, took something that had a market value of $0, which is us talking on a microphone, and turned it into something that has a multi-million-dollar market value, right? Again,
that's true.
took over a small business. Most small businesses don't see profits until year 3. I saw profits year 1. Yes, I will argue, of course, it was an existing business, so easier to take over, not taking it from scratch.
You took it over when your father was
But
dying,
I did also, I moved the entire brick and mortar to not only a new city, but a new state. So that kind of is like starting almost from scratch again, because you can't use the same customers that you once had, right?
Yeah.
And so all these things on paper, why are we more impressed by entrepreneurs and hedge fund managers who most likely made their money by screwing somebody over? And, and why
That's why the housing market's such shit is a lot of hedge fund companies.
And why aren't we satisfied with experience, meaning that you created a small business successfully or multiple small businesses successfully, right? And I think a lot of this is just because this is what we've been fed, right? This is what we've been fed time and time again. So we need to recalibrate our minds. And the last point I wanted to make today is that, and it's very exciting, is that millennial women are the largest group by a landslide of registered Democrats in New York City. We're the largest group. Yeah. So this is something where if you feel powerless as a woman, you feel like you are getting your rights taken away from you. You feel like people make decisions and they don't consider you. We millennial women can change the decision in the mayoral race, New York City, 2025. We have the power. And we are people who communicate with each other, right?
Yes, we do.
We are people who take action. We vote. We're interested. We're engaged. So, over brunch, yeah, sure, talk about the guy you're dating. Also mention, hey, have you looked at who's running for mayor this year? There's some really there's this really interesting candidate, Corinne Fisher. I know her from whatever it is. Talk about
extremely helpful.
Voting and make sure that your friends are showing up to the Democratic primary on June 24th and donating. And again, I'm going to say this every single week too. If you have a group of ladies or anyone, but I mean, specifically women, just because I think that's a lot of people who listen to the show. If you have a group and you get together, you're a book club, you're a wine club, whatever it is, 20 people or whatever,
yes.
I will come in person and talk to you and earn your vote.
Yep.
Happy to do it.
And you can,
to do it.
A listener DM'd me who has a book club in New York City that we're going to get Corinne. I gave her my email address. We're going to talk. I want to get Corinne in front of these people. I also want to leave you with this idea or something for your imagination to go with is like, how cool would it be if the person who inspires hundreds of thousands of people to get out of an abusive relationship is the person deciding how much money public school teachers make and what the children are learning for their curriculum and how policing is being approached in the city and how we can heal mental illness in the city without having to call the cops that statistically will only beat the shit out of the person having a mental health crisis. How cool would it be if the greatest city in the world was led by empathy? You know who's empathetic?
Today's guest.
Yes.
She really is.
Guest. This is a great conversation. I love this woman so much.
I'm also going to need you guys to take a shot every time Krystyna or the guest cries.
It's a bunch.
It's a lot. You're going to be wasted.
She has a very special show coming up that you are going to be familiar with after you listen to this interview. But I just want to let you know it's February 27th at the Upper West Side location of New York Comedy Club. Ladies and gentlemen, she is a stand-up comedian and she is just an angel all around. Please welcome to the show,
Krystyna Hutchinson.